And howdy, everybody, and welcome to the Word 115.
Woohoo!
Howdy D, howdy Lynn, howdy Landon, howdy Gwen. So today
Howdy.
we'll continue on in Jeremiah 44, 45, 46, 47, and 48. Before that, though, let's go ahead and pray in. Hello, Father. Thank you very much for bringing us together to fellowship and study your word once again. We're very grateful for that and ask for your knowledge and understanding that spirit be put on everybody here that joins us today. And now or in the future, we also ask for you to give shelter, warmth, and food to everybody that is experiencing the snow and ice far colder than they've ever been used to. And we thank you for that. Well, we're grateful and we love you. In Jesus Yeshua's name, amen.
Amen.
All right, let's get rolling here. So Jeremiah chapter 44. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the Jews which dwell in the land of Egypt, which dwell at Migdol and at Tahpanhes, and at Noph, and in the country of Pathros, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Ye have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah, and behold, this day they are a desolation, and no man dwelleth therein, because of their wickedness which they have committed to provoke me to anger, in that they went to burn incense and to serve other gods, whom they knew not, neither they, ye, nor your fathers. Howbeit I sent unto you all my servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them, saying, Oh, do not this abominable thing that I hate. But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear to turn from their wickedness, to burn no incense unto other gods. Wherefore my fury and mine anger was poured forth, and was kindled in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. And they are wasted and desolate, as at this day. Therefore, now thus saith the Lord, the God of hosts, the God of Israel, Wherefore commit ye this great evil against your souls, to cut off from you man and woman, child and suckling, out of Judah, to leave you none to remain, in that you provoke me unto wrath with the works of your hands, burning incense unto other gods in the land of Egypt, whither ye be gone to dwell, that ye might cut yourselves off, and that ye might be a curse and a reproach among all the nations of the earth? Have you forgotten the wickedness of your fathers, and the wickedness of the kings of Judah, and the wickedness of their wives, and your own wickedness, and the wickedness of your wives, which they have committed in the land of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem? They are not humbled, even unto this day, neither have they feared, nor walked in my law, nor in my statutes that I set before you and your fathers. Verse 11. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will set my face against you for evil, and to cut off all Judah. And I will take the remnant of Judah that have set their faces to go into the land of Egypt to sojourn there, and they shall all be consumed and fall in the land of Egypt. They shall even be consumed by the sword and by the famine. They shall die, from the least even unto the greatest, by the sword and by the famine, and they shall be an execration and an astonishment and a curse and a reproach. For I will punish them that dwell in the land of Egypt, as I have punished Jerusalem, by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence, so that none of the remnant of Judah, which are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there, shall escape or remain, that they should return into the land of Judah. to the which they have a desire to return to dwell there. For none shall return but such as shall escape. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt in Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Lord, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, and our kings, and our princes, in the cities of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then we had plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine. And when we burned incense to the Queen of heaven, and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her, and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men? Verse 20. Then Jeremiah said unto all the people, to the men, and to the women, and to all the people which had given him that answer, saying, The incense that ye have burned in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, ye and your fathers, your kings and your princes, and the people of the land, did not the Lord remember them? And came it not into his mind, so that the Lord could no longer bear because of your evil, or because of the evil of your doings, and because of the abominations which ye have committed? Therefore is your land a desolation, and an astonishment, and a curse, without an inhabitant, as at this day. Because you have burned incense, and because you have sinned against the Lord, and have not obeyed the voice of the Lord, nor walked in his law, nor in his statutes, nor in his testimonies, therefore this evil has happened unto you as at this day. Moreover, Jeremiah said unto all the people and to all the women, Hear the word of the Lord, all Judah that are in the land of Egypt. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, Ye and your wives have both spoken with your mouths and fulfilled with your hand, saying, We will surely perform our vows that we have vowed, to burn incense to the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her. You will surely accomplish your vows, and surely perform your vows. Therefore, ye have heard the word of the Lord, all Judah that dwell in the land of Egypt. Behold, I have sworn by my great name, saith the Lord, that my name shall no more be named in the mouth of any man of Judah in all the land of Egypt, saying, The Lord God liveth. Behold, I will watch over them for evil, and not for good. And all the men of Judah that are in the land of Egypt shall be consumed by the sword and by the famine, until there be an end of them. Yet a small number that escape the sword shall return out of the land of Egypt into the land of Judah, and all the remnant of Judah that are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there shall know whose words shall stand, mine or theirs. Verse 29, And this shall be a sign unto you, saith the Lord, that I will punish you in this place, that you may know my words shall surely stand against you for evil. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will give Pharaoh Hophra, king of Egypt, into the hand of his enemies, and into the hand of them that seek his life, as I gave Zedekiah, king of Judah, into the hand of Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, his enemy, and that sought his life.
Chapter 45. The word that Jeremiah the prophet spake unto Baruch the son of Neriah, when he had written these words in a book at the mouth of Jeremiah, in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah. Thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, unto thee, O Baruch, Thou didst say, Woe is me now, for the Lord hath added grief to my sorrow. I fainted in my sighing, and I find no rest. Thus shalt thou say unto them, The Lord saith thus, Behold, that which I have built I will break down, and that which I have planted I will pluck up, even this whole land. And seekest thou great things for myself? Seek them not. For behold, I will bring evil upon all flesh, saith the Lord. But thy life will I give unto thee for a prey in all places whither thou goest.
Sorry. Okay, 46. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Gentiles, against Egypt, against the army of Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, which was by the river Euphrates in Carchemish, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, smote in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. Order ye the buckler and shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses, and get up, ye horsemen, and stand forth with your helmets. Furbish the spears, and put on the brigandines. Wherefore have I seen them dismayed and turning back? And their mighty ones are beaten down and are fled apace, and look not back. For fear was round about, said the Lord. Let not the swift flee away, nor the mighty man escape. They shall stumble and fall toward the north by the river Euphrates. Who is this that cometh up as a flood, whose waters are moved as the rivers? Egypt rises up like a flood, and his waters are moved like the rivers. And he saith, I will go up and will cover the earth. I will destroy the cities and the inhabitants thereof. Come up, ye horses, and rage, ye chariots, and let the mighty men come forth, the Ethiopians and the Libyans that handle the shield, and the Lydians that handle and bend the bow. For this is the day of the Lord God of hosts, a day of vengeance, that he may avenge him of his adversaries, and the sword shall devour, and it shall be satiate and made drunk with their blood. For the Lord God of hosts hath a sacrifice in the north country by the river Euphrates. Go up to Gilead and take balm, O virgin, the daughter of Egypt. In vain shalt thou use many medicines, for thou shalt not be cured. The nations have heard of thy shame, and thy cry hath filled the land. For the mighty man hath stumbled against the mighty, and they are fallen both together. The word of the Lord spake to Jeremiah the prophet. Now how Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, should come and smite the land of Egypt. Declare ye in Egypt, and publish in Migdol, and publish in Noph, and Taphanes, and say ye, stand fast, and prepare thee, for the sword shall devour round about thee. Why are they valiant men swept away? They stood not, because the Lord did drive them. He made many to fall, yea, one fell upon another, and they said, arise, and let us go again to our own people, and to the land of our nativity, and from the oppressing sword. They did cry there, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, is but a noise. He hath passed the time appointed. As I live, saith the king, whose name is the Lord of hosts, surely as Tabor is among the mountains, and as Carmel by the sea, so shall he come. O thou daughter dwelling in Egypt, furnish thyself to go into captivity, for Noph shall be wasted and desolate without an inhabitant. Egypt is like a very fair heifer, but destruction cometh, and cometh out of the north. Also, her hired men are in the midst of her like fatted bullocks, for they also are turned back and are fled away together. They did not stand, because the day of their calamity was come upon them, and the time of their visitation. The voice thereof shall go like a serpent, for they shall march with an army, and come against her with axes and hewers of wood. They shall cut down her forests, said the Lord, though it cannot be searched, because there are more than the grasshoppers, and are innumerable. The daughter of Egypt shall be confounded. She shall be delivered into the hand of the people of the north. The Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saith, behold, I will punish the multitude of No, and Pharaoh, and Egypt, with their gods and their kings, even Pharaoh and all them that trust in him. And I will deliver them into the hand of those that seek their lives, and into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and into the hand of his servants. And afterwards it shall be inhabited, as in the days of old, said the Lord. But fear not thou, O my servant Jacob, and be not dismayed, O Israel. For behold, I will save thee from afar off, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and be in rest and at ease, and none shall make him afraid. Fear thou not, O Jacob, my servant, saith the Lord, for I am with thee. For I will make a full end of all the nations, whither I have driven thee. But I will not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, yet I will not leave thee wholly unpunished.
Chapter 47. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before the Pharaoh smote Gaza. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, waters rise up out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land, and all that is therein, the city, and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl. At the noise of the stamping of the hoofs of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels, the fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands. Because of the day that cometh to spoil all the Philistines, and to cut off from Tyrus and Zidon every helper that remaineth. For the Lord will spoil the Philistines, the remnant of the country of Caphtor. Baldness to come upon Gaza. Ashkelon is cut off with the remnant of their valley. How long wilt thou cut thyself? O thou sword of the Lord, how long will it be ere though how long will it be ere though thou be quiet? Put up thyself into thy scabbard. Rest and be still. How can it be quiet, seeing the Lord hath given it a charge against Ashkelon, and against the seashore? There hath he appointed it.
Chapter 48. Concerning Moab, this is what Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, said: Woe to Nebo, for it is ravaged. Koriakim is put to shame, captured. The high stronghold is put to shame and broken down. There is praise for Moab no longer. In Heshbon they have devised evil against her. Come, let us cut it off as a nation. O madmen, you have also cut off, a sword goes after you. Listen, an outcry from Horonaim ravaging the great destruction. Moab shall be destroyed, her little ones shall cry out. For on the ascent of Luhith they go up, weeping bitterly. For in the descent of Horonaim the enemies shall hear a cry of destruction. Flee, deliver your own lives, and be like a bush in the wilderness. For because you have trusted in your works and your treasures, you shall be captured. And Chemosh shall go forth into exile, his priests and his heads together. Verse 8. And a ravager shall come into every city, no one escapes. And the valley shall perish, and the plain be destroyed, as Yahuwah has spoken. Give wings to Moab, for she has to flee away, and her cities become a ruin, with no one to dwell in them. Cursed is he who is slack in doing the work of Yahuwah, and cursed is he who withholds his sword from blood. Moab has been at ease from his youth, and he has settled on his dredges, and has not been emptied from the vessel to vessel, nor he gone into exile. Therefore, his flavor has stayed in him, and his fragrance is unchanged. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall send him tilleters, who shall tilt him over, empty as a vessel, and break the bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed because of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, their refuge. How do you say, we are mighty and strong men for battle? Moab is ravaged, and her cities have been entered, and her chosen young men have gone down to the slaughter, declares the sovereign, whose name is Yahuwah of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hurries fast. Lament for him, all you who are around him, and all you who know his name. Say, how the strong scepter has been broken, the staff of splendor. Verse 18. Come down from your esteem and sit in thirst, O inhabitant daughter of Dibon. For the ravager of Moab shall come against you, he shall destroy your strongholds. Stand by the way and watch, O inhabitants of Aurora. Ask him who flees and her who escapes. Say, what has been done? Moab has been put to shame, for it has been broken down. Howl and cry, and let it be heard in Aranon that Moab is ravaged. The judgment has come on the plain country, on Holon, and on Yitzhak, and on Morphath, and on Dibon, Nebo, and on Beth and Dibbalethem, and on Kiriathaim, and on Beth Gamil and Beth Immon, and on Quiroth, and on Bithra, and on all the cities of the land of Moab, far or near. The horn of Moab has been cut off, and his arm has been broken, declares Yahuwah. Verse 26. Make him drunk, because he has made himself great against Yahuwah. Moab shall splash in his vomit, and he shall be also in mockery. And was not Israel in mockery to you? Was he found among thieves? For whenever you speak of him, you shake your head. O inhabitants of Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove making a nest in the sides of the caves of the mouth. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud. Of his loftiness, arrogance, and pride, and of the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, declares Yahuwah, and his boastings are untrue, and his deeds are false. Therefore, I wail for Moab, and I cry out for all Moab. I mourn for the men of Quirhirs, O vine of Sima. I weep for you with a weeping of Yasar. Your branches have passed over the sea, and have come to the sea of Yasar. The ravager has fallen on your summer fruit and your grape harvest. Verse 33. Joy and gladness have been taken away from the orchard and from the land of Moab, and I have made wine to cease from the winepress. No one treads with shouting, the shouting is no shouting. From the outcry of Heshbon unto Elah and Yahatz, they shall raise their voices from Tzor to Horonaim, like the 3-year-old heifer, for even the waters of Nimrim are dried up. And I shall make an end in Moab to him who offers in the high places the burn incense to his mighty ones, declares Yahuwah. So my heart sounds for Moab like flutes, and my heart sounds for the men of Quirhirs like flutes. Therefore the wealth they made shall be gone. For every head is bald, and every beard clipped, cuts on all hands, and sackcloth on the loins. On all the housetops of Moab, in the streets, it is lamentation, for I have broken Moab, like a vessel to which no one delights, declares Yahuwah. How has she been broken down? They shall wail. How has Moab turned her back with shame? Moab shall be a mockery and a horror to all those who hear about her. For thus said Yahuwah, see, he soars like an eagle, and shall spread his wings over Moab. Quiroth shall be captured, and the stronghold seized, and the heart of mighty men in Moab on that day shall be like the heart of a woman in labor. And Moab shall be destroyed as a people, because he has made himself great against Yahuwah. 43. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitant of Moab, declares Yahuwah. He who flees from fear falls into the pit, and he who gets out of the pit is caught in a snare. For I am bringing upon Moab the year of their punishment, declares Yahuwah. Those who fled stood powerless under the shadow of Heshbon. By a fire shall come out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Sihon, and consume the brow of Moab, and the crown of the head of the sons of uproar. Woe to you, O Moab! The people of Chemosh have perished, for your sons have been taken into exile, and your daughters into exile. But I shall turn back the captivity of Moab in the latter days, declares Yahuwah. Thus far is the judgment of Moab.
All right. So let's go back to 44. Excuse me. And just to recap, remember where we left off the last study. Jeremiah was given the choice whether to go into captivity with the king and princes and priests and Levites, or to stay in the promised land. He chose to stay, but then a bunch of these unfaithful, we'll call them that, said, we need to flee to the land of Egypt because Pharaoh will protect us. So that's where this is picking up on chapter 44. And it even says that in verse 1, to them who fled to Egypt. Right? The ones that dwell in the land of Egypt at Migdol and Tapanhes and Noph in the country of Pathros. I don't have anything after that until verse 7, if you got something.
Okay, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more a question, or maybe the thought was maybe he didn't want them going down to Egypt because they would be more susceptible to serving those gods down there. Going back, when you're going back into something he's pulled you out of, he's got you they've got some level of protection where they are, not only from, just physical, but also spiritual protection, maybe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is just now something I'm thinking about, but Zedekiah got that punishment because he rebelled against the punishment of Yah, in that he was going to hold a revolution against the king of Babylon. Well, we'll just break his bonds, even though they were told this is going to be your punishment by Jeremiah and Isaiah and others. And we're told, how many times are we told in Scripture to stand fast?
Mm-hmm.
To stand fast, stand there, stand up.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't say flee and run away. In that this is the kind of the opposite of the revolution, is they're running away from the problem. And basically I can see this as sort of, hey, I told you not to run, but because you didn't trust me, you're going to have the same punishment. Of course, we're not quite there yet. Are we? So yeah, I can see that as kind of but at the same time, this is the start of this pronouncement against them, because he's saying not only them, but your fathers are that served these gods, and you are now. But see, in 7, it's interesting the way it's worded. You commit this great evil against your souls. What does your translation say, Gwen, there?
Which one, sorry?
Verse 7.
Chapter 44?
Yes.
I was reading something on incense, sorry. And now thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, why are you doing this great evil against your lives, to cut off from you man and woman, child, infant, from the midst of Judah, leaving none to remain?
Yep. And who was it? Somebody yesterday, I think, said, or in the last study said, soul and life is synonymous somewhere.
Hmm.
Somebody remember that? I can't remember exactly where. And then in verse 8, you provoke me unto wrath with the works of your hands.
I'm trying to look up this incense business because it keeps saying incense, right? And I mean, just as like a side note, because sometimes we need a list. Like sometimes, I don't know, I need a list sometimes. Like, could you explain exactly what it is that you are wanting me to do? Can you explain exactly what I'm doing that's wrong? Because sometimes maybe it's my heart that's a bit jaded, or my conscience has been seared, or for whatever reason, right? So I think that there's like, I feel like while we're talking, I'm just going to keep looking about, what's the issue with incense? Like some people, it says, they used incense to burn your arms and to burn the scalp of like Buddhist monks and nuns, so that it would mark them for life. Using right here it says the works of your hands by burning incense. And then I just read here how the incense stick is rotated between the palms before being placed in a holder to honor the gods, also in Buddhism or Hinduism and so on. So I think it's like it seems so far, and I haven't read very much, just the last 2 minutes, but it seems like burning incense is also like symbolism of marking yourself, in attaching yourself to the God that you are trying to honor or petition. You're marking yourself.
So a mark.
Hey, Mark, I was just getting ready to say the same thing.
Yeah, like marking yourself.
What
so
you
far,
do,
that's what.
Yeah, what we do. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it keeps repeating, right? They keep talking about incense. Like, I mean,
another way of saying the fruit that we bear with our hands.
Yes. Yeah. Because faith without works is dead, right? So we, as believers, we're trying to figure out, okay, what kind of works is he asking? What kind of works is he's requiring? What kind of work is he looking for in us that he's going to accept?
Okay.
Sorry, anyway.
I don't have anything until 12. If you got anything in between there.
That's my next one.
Oh, I had 12 as well.
Okay, what'd you guys have for 12?
Well, I'm just noticing throughout the whole thing, you're going to be an oath, an execration, an astonishment, a reproach, a curse. And basically all of you are going to go, except for those little tiny few people that are going to escape. But he's saying you're going to be a hissing again, basically. I mean, the whole chapter is like, this is what's going to happen. And they're like, no, we're not going to do it. Like a 3-year-old.
Consumed in verse 12 by scarcity of food. How many of us are, in a place which many are depending on the system or the grocery store for food? We're depending on something that might be taken from us.
Dependent on Egypt for food.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say there, Dee?
No, Lynn, that's what Lynn said.
So I found this interesting because it says, I will take the remnant of Judah that have set their faces to go into the land of Egypt. Well, if you remember, when he took the princes and priests and Levites and the king into Babylon, he said, I will leave a remnant in Judah. So this is like a remnant of the remnant that's going down. And then even further down, we're going to get to another remnant.
Verse 14.
That survives this punishment.
Yeah, verse 14, I was saying.
And that, so I thought it's interesting. The remnant that chose Egypt. So now we have a further division. of them, of the house of Judah.
Well, it's kind of like the wheat from the tares and then the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, that's a good point. 15. What'd you say? You said 14, didn't you, Gwen? Or someone did?
Yeah, like I'm just verse 14. I'm just trying to reread it again. Like I'm going to read it out loud so I can hear myself. And none of the remnant of Judah who have gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there shall escape or survive, lest they return to the land of Judah, which they are longing to return to dwell there, for they shall not return except those who escape. Okay, I'm thinking of the garden for some reason. Abba puts the angel there so that they don't return, and then he does something with Adam and Eve so that they don't reach out and touch the tree of life, lest they, like it. I don't know why there's a connection there. Like there, because at the very end it says, "Except those who escape." So
it sounds like to me on those that shall escape, wasn't some of them like they were the way I was reading it was some of them were basically taken by force into Egypt, that they went because then they didn't want to go.
They went because they were dragged down there.
They were dragged down there, so maybe some of those escape and come back.
Right.
Is that
In the report? Excuse me.
That would make sense.
On the report, it says, "For none will return except those who are delivered." So
yeah,
I can see that. Exactly what Dee's saying. They got dragged down there, and they're just sitting there going, "We don't want to do that."
Yeah,
I disagree. I don't know. I disagree.
Do you?
Because if we're kind of like, I'm not saying that didn't happen, because definitely that I'm sure that did, but I think on a bigger scale, I don't think that they were all dragged as a corporate event. I think that people ran back there. When times get hard, we run to those who were used to taking care of us.
But
we wanted
Jeremiah end up in Egypt though?
Yeah, this
Pardon?
is centuries and centuries and centuries after they came up out of Egypt originally.
Yeah, but but when we're reading, we hear Abba's wrath against them for their actions. So if they're dragged back, why is he so angry if they were taken captive and dragged back?
No, that's not what they're saying. They're not saying they were dragged back. They're saying that you have part of the remnant said, "Let's go." And they left, but some of the people didn't want to go with them. They went because it was their husbands or their parents or something, but they wanted to stay where the promise had been made to Jeremiah. But even Jeremiah got dragged down there also. He didn't want to go. He chose to stay.
Now Jeremiah ended up in Egypt.
Yeah, he ends up in Egypt.
Yeah. I guess I was like narrowing just this experience because I haven't read it all, but this just sounded like, hang on a second, these are the sound of his tone towards these people sounds so angry.
Oh, he's angry at them. I agree.
Yeah, so I was just kind of leaning towards, because I don't know the full understanding, I was leaning towards, hang on a second, these guys are being pressed for sure. They're being manipulated. They're being, taken captive for sure, some of them. Because the very last, except those who escape, it feels like, those movies where they're all being funneled in, but then you have those that escape. Like, I don't know. Anyways, carry on.
Split up.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 15, in this phrasing is used again later, but it says the men who allowed their wives, and then that taken with the other verses, it kind of got me thinking, because it's bringing up the offerings to the Queen of Heaven, which even before this, that was Semiramis.
Yeah, the little cakes.
Right, at Babel. And then now that's Mary, right? Mother Mary. But the thing is, it's like a type of, I was thinking, I wonder if they're looking at it as a view of feminism.
I was getting ready to say the exact same thing.
And the, people talk about the Immaculate Conception. They're not talking about a virgin giving birth. That's the origin story of Semiramis, right? In other words, it's a woman so holy that she didn't have to come through the regular birth means. She was just created, and you get the whole Venus thing where she came up out of the water on a shell, and that was her divinity, right? The goddess Venus. So, I don't know. I find this.
And Landon, that has to do with that clip I sent you.
Okay.
Well, the other thing I thought of was men not being head of their household, not being in charge of their household. But that has to do with feminism too. We see that right now, and maybe that has to do with the Jezebel. When they're admonished in Revelation, you tolerate that woman Jezebel. Well, Jezebel was in control. Ahab was very. He just let Jezebel run things.
I think about like how Adam didn't cover his wife. Me and the girls were doing a little study, especially my youngest, Harmony. Why did Adam do that? And usually most people are blaming the woman, right? Why didn't he do that? And why didn't they, why weren't they standing at the gates of the garden? How did they let the enemy, these questions she's asking, right? But I was thinking just the other day about how Adam didn't cover his wife. There's many interpretations of how many people were there, who took it first, was he there when she took it off the tree, all of these things. But I keep thinking, Abba said guard, right? And Abba gave him instructions first before Eve was even created. He told him. It was like he wasn't taking seriously, like many men, not all men, but many men don't take seriously the responsibility of care for creation, care for another human being, care for another being's mental, physical, soulful well-being. Yeshua said that, die for her. I'll die for the body. I'll die for the bride. I'll die for her.
Okay, Rabbit Trail.
I'm sorry.
All right. So.
My fault for asking.
Verses 17 through 20 is basically Mother Mary, incense, right? Incense, wine, baking little cakes.
Can't just be Mary. There's a lot of other gods out there too.
But where we see it today?
In lots of women worship. It's not just Mary. Okay, wait. Never mind. Carry on. Sorry, I'm just going to go on another sidetrack.
Okay. So I don't have anything then after that, but into 23. In that he's saying, this is why this has happened to you. Because you have burned incense, because you have sinned against the Lord and have not obeyed the voice of the Lord, nor walked in his law, nor in his statutes, nor in his testimonies. Therefore, this evil has happened unto you. This is why.
Yeah. Burning incense. Hey, there's it again, marking yourself. I think that's how I'm going to see it now when I see the word incense, marking yourself.
Okay, so now this is what you were talking about, right? Anybody got anything before 28? Okay, 28, what you were talking about a minute ago. Yet a small number that escaped the sword shall return out of the land of Egypt into the land of Judah. And all the remnant of Judah that are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there shall know whose word shall stand, mine or theirs, because they were rejecting the words of Jeremiah.
I got something real quick about that incense.
Okay.
Just a thought that came to mind. You could put it in a worldly sense. If anyone's ever experience someone being unfaithful to them and come home and they smell like a different person. That incense, that mark. I mean, I was just thinking about, imagine what that smells like to God. Our sins stink to him. All these other things that he, you know what I mean? And it just made me think of the adultery. I mean, it makes, it's idolatry, but the adultery.
It's the only
claims-
sin that's a mark against the body. Everything else is external, but adultery is internal, so the smell would be different.
That's interesting though, because I did a word study on idolatry, as in you shall have, or adultery. I'm sorry. If you look at the commandments when he's handing them out in Exodus, that word adultery is a worshiping of idols. So it's another way of rephrasing, you shall not have any other gods before me.
Right.
Again. So that's
So that, in other words,
information.
so is adultery then that would be different than fornication? Two different things, aren't they?
I think what the connection is like, I like what you're mentioning, Landon, but I think like it's the one thing that separates you, because you're one body. Now you are no longer one body. You have broken that. So
Yeah, you mix somebody else's chemicals in there with your own, and
yeah. Like, and then Abba's, like the divorce from what they did at the bottom of the mountain, they fornicated with other gods. That is what fornication is. That is what idol worship is. You are choosing another god to be intimate with. You're choosing that god to mark you. You're choosing that outside thing to cause your smell to be different. Your prayers won't be beautiful anymore. They'll be stenching, like it'll be stench in his nostrils, it says.
Right.
it's interesting. Wow. Okay, so
Sorry, I'm trying to look that up.
Gosh, I feel like I need to pause now and really think about that.
make a note for later.
I'm not good with that.
You're not good with that?
No.
I make the note, but I don't always get around to it. So then I see the note later and say, "Oh, there's that note."
At the first place, it says that.
Says what?
It's a different. If it's got to be a different place where it uses a slightly different word for the adultery. But I'm looking at that. Anyways, I'll have to do a different thing on that. All right, because I didn't take notes on it. Anything else? I have nothing until 30.
That's what I have too.
What do you got?
30.
Well, what about it?
7.
Well, what about it? I
27?
just
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was just a general comment of, even though, they've been out of Egypt for generations and they're in their land, they still wanted to go to Egypt.
Interesting.
They still would want to go back to Egypt. And I think about that with us. Abba tries diligently with us to pull us out of Egypt, pull us out of Babylon. And we still want to go back because it's more comfortable.
Right. So what about verse 30 there, Lynn?
Oh, well, so 30, he's saying, I'm just going to take out the king of Egypt, just like I did Zedekiah.
With who?
Into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar, and now I'm going to put that king of Egypt right into the hands of his enemy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the exact same thing that they're running from is coming to get them.
So do you think that Abba did that because they went to Egypt?
Yep.
And Egypt let them in?
I believe that that's the only reason the king of Babylon went all the way down there. Because back when we read, he says the king of Babylon is my sword. And that's what he's bringing down on Judah because of their punishment.
Mm-hmm.
You can't punish us. We're going to run away. Well, first, we're going to fight against it. Right? Okay, fine. I'll murder all your children in front of you and put your eyes out. Okay, fine. We'll run away. No, you're not, because I'm going to come get you. It's kind of like what we were reading about I will send hunters among the rocks and mountains
Mhm.
to get them, to get out my people. Same thing. You're not, how are you going to escape him?
Yeah. He knows where you're hiding.
It's kind of like the cartoons where you see the person run away from a thing and hide in the closet, and then they light the match and whatever they're running from is in the closet with them. Or the movie Alien, when the guy gets down in the passageway and he looks this way, nothing, and then he looks that way,
Nothing.
and it's right there.
It's like you can run, but you
Yeah.
cannot hide.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or as the Marine Corps snipers say, if you run, you're only going to die tired.
I like that
Okay.
one.
Or faster.
Let's go on to 45.
That name, whenever we get to 46, but they use a different name for the Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Right.
And I don't know what that's about.
But okay, I have about 3 pages of notes on chapter 45.
Go
It
for
was
it.
only like
Not
2 verses.
I know there wasn't. I just got a general note. This is basically the smackdown on Baruch, the son of Neriah. So he says, basically, you think you're going to have all these good things? No. Anybody got something else?
Yeah.
Thinking about, verse 4.
Verse quattro. Okay, what
Say
about
that, well, 3 is 3 and 4. So you have said, woe to me now, for Yahuwah has added grief to my pain. I have been wearied from my sighing, and I have found no rest. Boo-hoo. Verse 4. Say this to him. Thus said Yahuwah, see, what I have built, I am breaking down. And what I have planted, I am plucking up. That is the entire land. Okay, that made me think about, many people that are, just as a side rabbit trail, like many people will hang on to, like, Abba built this. God built this. This is where he's planted me. You wouldn't want me to move, wouldn't want me to change, wouldn't want me to go somewhere else. Well, just because he planted doesn't mean he can't uproot. Just because he's built something doesn't mean he can't break it down. Like, the only thing that's going to stand is his word, full stop. Everything else he can plant, build, whatever, but he can break it down. The only thing that is unbreakable or can't be uprooted is his word. So the things in our lives, when we think that we're planted or we think that we're established somewhere in something with someone, doesn't mean that Abba can't uproot it for various reasons.
can be uprooted, right? Okay, 46.
It did just make me think this. You can go on this rabbit trail later because you'll have to look up old pictures of the cypress industry in Louisiana. But they completely gutted the swamp of these cypress trees that were the size of my living room. They have pictures of men next to it. And I know we're taught industrialism, but and that's probably correct at how, but it just made me, I think there's a connection there, at least from the spiritual sense of when things are taken away and uprooted and all that, and these very, very old trees. But when you go to school and the indoctrination, it's by, just for the industry. I don't know. I just made a connection there. Anyway.
Not letting you know the real reason.
For 46, I don't have anything until all the way down in verse 25. If you got something before that.
Pharaoh.
Okay.
That's all. It was a different name. At 44, it was a different Pharaoh, but this one was Pharaoh Necho.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Anyone else?
It just, down on 27. Did you say 25?
Yeah, 25.
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, we've seen this before, right? This is what Yah is saying here. Behold, I will punish the multitude of No and Pharaoh and Egypt with their gods and their kings, even Pharaoh and all them that trust in him. Right?
That one
It goes
got
back
me.
to the first few verses of Isaiah 30. You know, those who put their trust in Egypt. And I make a distinction between Babylon being religion and Egypt being government of man. Same thing, but don't put your trust in them. Trust Yah. Trust Yeshua.
Put yourself under his covering, not somebody else's.
Yep. And then you said 27, D?
Yeah, I mean, even with all the discipline that they're going under and under his wrath, he still tells them, "But don't fear."
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
I will bring a seed back from captivity. I mean, you're not going to be completely wiped out.
Right. And then see that I went straight to 28,
Hmm.
but you will be punished.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that,
You still got to take your discipline.
yep, says, I will not leave thee wholly unpunished. So we need to remember that. There's a lot of arrogant people. Jesus died for all my sins. I don't have to do anything. Well, I am repentant now and I keep the law, so I don't have any punishment coming. Something's coming. If you aren't humbling yourself and
And
revering your
notice
Father.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I noticed that he says, well, I will correct thee in measure. So, you know, in time and over time, I'm going to correct you and keep correcting you and keep disappointing you so that you can learn, you know?
Now, is that when I see that in measure, I'm picturing more like when you're making a recipe.
Right. A little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Well, you can also take that possibly to mean like in another Torah portion, they talk about the eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It's not meaning that that's literal. It means that the punishment should fit the crime.
At the time. Mhm.
So could possibly, when he says measure, that is also what he means, is that your discipline will be measured by your action.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can see that.
I like that too. Yeah. Mhm.
Some parts of India, that's how the punishment does fit the crime.
I'll tell you after we're done reading.
All right.
Just remind me about India punishment.
All right.
Okay, 47. Who read this long chapter?
It was me. That's exhaustive. I don't know if you saw me because I wasn't on there. But when Dee was reading and I flipped the chapter, I was like, and then I was humbled when I got to mine. I was like, oh.
You were like going, she didn't have anything to read.
So basically, this can be the way I'm reading it. This can be summed up as, you know, I pulled out my sword. It's going to be working. But then also, well, for the context of what Jeremiah has been told, the king of Babylon is his sword for this punishment coming against the house of Judah.
I have a thought on 5.
Okay.
Anybody else doesn't have anything? Or it may be a question. You know, baldness is coming upon Gaza. Ashkelon is cut off with the remnant. How long will thou cut thyself? Is that a meaning of their practices, their spiritual practices, where there's cutting and shaving and things like that, or is it another thing of what you're saying about the sword? How long will you continue to be in rebellion? So I'm going to continue to cut.
Right. No, I believe it's they're meaning there's going to be death coming, because if we look at the commandment not to, you don't shave your head for the dead. You don't make cuttings in your flesh for the dead. Don't receive any imprint in your flesh for the dead. So I believe that's what that's referring to. Could be wrong.
Yeah, it is an interesting take though. I was thinking that it was poetically saying like you're cutting yourself off. But you're right. It could be either or. How do you say that word in sticks?
Scabbard.
Scabbard? I was
That's
having trouble.
Where your
Like the
sword
knife with the
goes.
scabbard. All right. 48. Who read 48?
I did.
And
Okay.
I'm glad it was long because I needed to gain momentum before I could understand what it was saying.
I don't have anything until verse 7.
that's what mine is.
Can I talk about like the whole concept of the whole chapter, or should I save that to the end?
Well,
I'll save it till the end. Yeah, no.
Okay.
How
Okay.
long is it going to take you?
okay. So in verse
That's not
7,
fair. I never know the answer to that question.
in verse 7, again, we have our own works, right?
Yeah.
Because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken. And what's coming to mind is the survivalist or prepper mentality. I don't have to worry about anything because I built, and I have stored away and I grew all this and now I have food. But it can all be taken away in an instant.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yep.
it's a fine line. There's wisdom in having
There
extra
is.
put back. But what if we had to run?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I'm not packing up all that stuff in my car and driving around with it,
How are you going to do that? Or you have to put it
It's going to be me and
backpack.
the pets. That's all I have room for. No food.
Now, remember who was it we read about? That the sons of, I can't remember his name, but he commanded his sons, you shall not live in cities. You will dwell in tents. And when they came to destroy Jerusalem, Jeremiah had a special word for them saying, because you haven't been in the city partaking of all this stuff.
The ones that couldn't drink wine neither?
Yes.
What? You can't drink wine?
Because their father commanded them, no wine, no city dwelling, you're going to live in tents because all the evil happens in the city, basically,
Right.
The summary. So anyways, okay. Then I don't have anything until verse 33. All the way down there.
Mine's in 10.
Okay.
Mine's a 9.
Okay, 9.
Emily said, I didn't say that on purpose, just to say something first.
Mine's in 25.
It's gonna go with my overall, like verse 9 goes with my overall view of the concept of Moab in comparison to Israel or Judah. But give wings to Moab, for she has to flee away, and her cities become a ruin with no one to dwell in them. That is going to be attributed to what I'm going to say at the end of the chapter. because it sounds like something else that Abba says to his people.
Okay.
So
And then what were
anyway,
you saying, Lynn? You said you had something?
verse 10.
Oh, me?
And just a thought that came back to me. It said, "Cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood." And I'm wondering. Okay, it says, "Cursed be that he that does the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood." And I'm wondering if that is talking about those who are not defending others,
Or judgment, not executing proper judgment.
or not. Yeah, because and then I think then my brain went to the hippie Jesus concept. We have this concept of, yes, Yeshua wanted peace. Yeshua didn't want violence, but there are things in the law that still apply, that you have to defend and you have to judge righteously. And so that's what I thought about when I read that.
Yeah.
Well, that can also mean, you're doing this work that Yahuwah has commanded you to do or whatever, but your heart's not in it. And you're just going through the motions, maybe? I don't know.
Well, this is against Moab too, though.
Yeah.
Judgment.
Yeah.
You're not executing judgment when I'm asking you, you need to do this thing.
Right.
And you're not.
The whole chapters is against Moab.
Right.
You think you've escaped, but it's coming. So, okay, and then who else had something before 33? Someone else said something.
I like, what do you say?
20. I had a question on 24. Basra, is that the same Basra as today?
It may be. I'd have to look it up. Let me see. Yeah.
The land of Moab is east of Judah, like due east. If you're looking on the map. It's Jordan, I think, is what the info I got now. Is what is now Jordan.
I did find it interesting while you're looking that up. I don't know, that wings to Moab thing did stand out to me. Is that God giving a mercy, at the same time saying judgment is coming, but...
Well, it bounces off, like the wings bounces up to verse 28, like, "O inhabitants of Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove making a nest in the sides of the cave's mouth." Like it sounds like there's a parallel here to, like, Abba's not going to withhold judgment against his people either, whether you're Moab or whether you're Israel. You're going to get your comeuppance whether you're his chosen or not. And so I feel like there's a parallel with Moab. Like, he wants them to be rescued eventually. He wants judgment, but this is how I'm seeing it as overall. I think that eventually there is, like, something significant about Moab being rescued. So, but has to go through judgment. Like, he wants to rescue us, but we have to go through his judgment. We have to go through his refining fire. Our actions, our motives, our intentions constantly, not just a one-time thing, like working out our salvation, constantly our everyday needs to go through this fire. Sometimes we go through good times, sometimes not, but I feel like sometimes we're on his wings. Psalm 91. Sometimes we're carried away. Sometimes we're protected. Sometimes we go through a harsh fire of judgment because of something, and sometimes we get plucked up. So I don't know. I feel like we can be Moab. We're Israel and we're Moab at the same time. Anyway, my brain is a bit spaghetti. Sorry.
It makes sense.
So I was just looking at that because I think your translation in verse 33, Gwen, says orchard.
33. Yes, it does. Away from the orchard.
And then the King James was translated plentiful field, which is 2 words, according to Strong's. Oops. 4480, which just means a part of, and then 3759, meaning a planted field.
Because an orchard implies fruit, a field is grain, so that's definitely two different
Right. Well,
concepts. So yeah.
as a planted field, and then in parentheses, garden, orchard, vineyard, or park. Park.
Oh gosh.
By
Mr. Strong.
implication of garden produce. Okay. The irritation of the storms. Okay.
Yeah, a few acres on the moon.
You said that was in what verse?
33. Plentiful orchard is what the King James says.
Let's see.
Well,
Let's see what it says.
And
Verse
Mr.
32
Name's
is
version
talking about
says
fruit.
plentiful.
Right? Like verse 32 is talking about fruit, right? Like the ravager has fallen on your summer fruit and on your grape harvest. So it would make more sense that it would be an orchard instead of a regular field. So it would make
he's
more
talking about everything that they grow.
Sure, but those things are in an orchard or a vineyard. Wait, grapes are in a vineyard, not an orchard. Anyway, sorry, maybe this is all just like, dissecting too much, but
Are olives considered
an orchard.
orchard? Okay.
Yeah, because it's a tree, it's not a vine.
Okay. Who else? Got anything else?
Oh, like verse 36.
Okay.
Like we've heard this a couple times. The sound of this. So my heart sounds for Moab like flutes, and my heart sounds for the men of Kiri's like flutes. Therefore, the wealth they made shall be gone. Like there is like a compassion that Jeremiah is expressing. Like you are gonna get it, but the cry sounds like there's a grief that I hear. I hear this grief, this sadness in Jeremiah when he's talking about Moab. That's what I'm hearing.
Jeremiah seemed like he was very sad for the people, and he mourned a lot over that. The stuff
Yeah,
that
like
God told him was going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's a devastating.
Like my heart sounds for Moab like a flute. So it's like a reminder of the like the posture of our heart, right? Like when we where's our mind and our heart when we're trying to prep and prepare? Where's the mind of our heart when we're hearing our enemies fall or judgments coming on our brother or sister or enemy? What is the sound? What's coming off of us?
Are we doing it for our protection and glory, or are we doing it because of his commandments? Because of him telling us to love our neighbor and to love ourselves. And
yeah,
and you're not just getting prepared for you, you're getting prepared for who might come to you.
Right.
And that's how you can bring the word of God to people in those times. I'm excited. I'm waiting for the people to come. It's like, I'm ready to help. Well, they are coming every day. It seems like there's somebody that you can help with a little something. Oh, I got this extra, and you can have it because you need it.
Okay, so let's say it's somebody from your door, right? Like, what if that happens?
What if what happens?
Someone from Moab comes to your door.
What if they do?
I know. I'm just saying.
So
I know. I'm just like you humans are different. Clearly, you're cut from a different cloth. But
here's a roll of toilet paper for you.
It's a whole package. What do you give me one roll?
It's a reminder. Like I've been through so many cycles in my faith walk. So many, and I'm back to a familiar place right now, and it does not feel good. And I'm just reminded of how easy it is to point a finger, or how easy it is to forget just how hard it can be to do a thing, how hard it is to be steadfast or holy or disciplined, how hard that can be. And so when we see others that are not doing that, how impatient we get, or judgmental or frustrated, because I do that with other people. But here I am. I'm in a place where I'm choosing not to tell everybody my business, because that means that they have to be patient with me. And I'm far too prideful to let anybody know that business, right? So what if Moab comes to our door? We can feed our, our brothers and sisters, we can feed the lost, but what about our real wicked enemies? Can we do that? Many of
Why
us
not?
can. Like, sure, we should. We totally should. I mean, so being prepared, that's the prep that we should be doing more than filling our storehouses. Prepare our heart to receive our enemy in our house.
You can
Anyway.
do both.
Yes. I'm counseling myself as I'm talking.
I know. I love you so much. You're so awesome when you. We don't
Okay.
need to know the details. We get it.
Anything else pertaining to our study?
Oh, this is pertaining to our study. Come on now. We're letting the word transform and heal us. Come on. Okay. There
Very
is
true.
one.
This
Okay.
is the last thing that it said that I got was, you fear, you flee.
Yeah.
Don't fear. And how many times are we told, do not be afraid? And
Yeah.
fleeing was what got them.
Yep.
So
I'm with you.
I have to keep
Always.
reminding myself of that, because I run. If I'm scared or I feel trapped or whatever, I run. I'm out. And so
I will never leave you or forsake you.
being still and trusting is really difficult.
Hard for you. It's hard for a lot of us.
It's really hard for me. So
I think it's harder for you than it is for me, Dee. I actually, yeah. I think as your example, your story that you gave
my story,
the other
now you
day.
know why.
Yeah. Listen, I was thinking about it. I thought, oh, Dee, you're not weird.
And what was that, Landon?
I was going to say, I think that's the only reason I'm still in Louisiana. That and bad financial decisions. But there's that mix up there. That almost believing in the lie, going through a tremendous amount of inner turmoil that a lot of people don't see. Sometimes they do. But turning to family that's here and them saying, no, you're fine, you're paranoid or something. And I can feel the presence of spiritual wickedness at times, and realizing that something's thrown off. And so the obvious answer is to run to the desert. But in the midst of that, focusing on that emotion, that gets you one step closer to, well, he just brought us out here to kill us, you know. And
Yeah, because you
so
can't trust the emotion.
Well, and even Elijah ran. Even Elijah got scared and ran. But the father knew why he did that, and he fed him. He was like, okay, go ahead, rest. I will feed you. I'll take care of you. So there's times when, that does happen.
And also, he told Joseph and Mary, he told Joseph, get up, go to Egypt right now. You need to run.
Right.
Sometimes
So
you got to
I think when he tells us it's time to go, then it's time to go. And yeah.
Well, that brings us back to the whole thing, because the reason they're not finding any favor, the reason they're being punished, is because they weren't obedient to him, to his laws, to his statutes, to his judgments.
Yeah.
Are we at verse 47 yet? Because there's hope, right? Because he says, But
Right.
I shall turn back the captivity of Moab in the latter days, declares Yahuwah. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. Does that not sound like his people too, right?
Yeah. And
Like,
like Isaiah says, what does he call Egypt? Egypt, my son, Syria, my servant, and
yeah,
Israel, mine inheritance.
yeah. So there's like, yeah, that's where I was going with the whole concept of Moab. Like, hang on a second. He's going to rescue them eventually. For what reason? He's going to rescue the people of
For
Syria.
his
Like what?
for his glory.
For his glory.
Yeah. Okay.
Imagine at the very, very end, and this is my complete speculation, but at one time he gave 72 other entities charge over different nations, and them choosing not to obey him and do the things that he was trying to get them to do. I mean, imagine that lesson to be learned. I mean, it's far beyond our mental capacity for heavenly beings to being taught some lesson by God. But if his salvation is for all and he's drawing back in, we have a tendency to focus on what Christ said to focus on. So not that that's a bad thing, but these other nations, if they turn to him or a part of that, and maybe it's just it's not different. The path is different. The purpose is different, but it's still the same salvation. You know, like we have a tendency to think of Moab or Egypt or Gomorrah as this one thing. You know, that yes or no, on or off, and it goes back to the if and but. If they turn, then
Yeah, like you're standing there at the end and you turn your head and you're like, hey, what? You're from Moab? I thought only us were supposed to be here, not you. How did you get here?
In learning and listening to Eric Bissell, who teaches Paleo Hebrew, he talks about a single word can be both positive and negative.
Right.
And he said, think about it. It's negative if you're under the curse. It's positive if you're not. If you aren't. So if you're same word, two different meanings. It depends on if you're under the curse or not. I thought that was really interesting.
That is very interesting.
It's the first childhood game we ever played with the little flower. She loves me. She loves me now. She loves me. They're trying to teach Hebrew. That's all they were doing.
That's good.
That is so cute. I love it.
Same flower, two different meanings.
That was beautiful.
So that, well, never mind. All right. Anyways, thank you, Dee. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Landon. Thank you, Gwen. Hey, it rhymes. Yeah. It rhymes when Lynn and Gwen are here.
And Rin. Whenever,
Okay.
And Landon.
All right. So, everybody, thank you. Matt would say like, share, subscribe.
Or we will find you.
Yeah.
We will find you.
Click the dingly thing. We're almost to the point where they're going to change the algorithm. So if you can share this with people, we get more subscribers. We don't get paid because freely we receive, freely we give. Right? We're not going to sit here and pimp ourselves out. You can join us. It's all free.
It's free.
Nothing but free love here. Real love. Right? So I love you all. We'll see you soon. Bye.